My earliest recollection of anything is when I was about 5 years old. That's when Benny started racing. I don't remember anything in my life that doesn't involve racing and going to races.
So why did Benny want to race?
My dad was a huge race fan. Again, grew up in Wilkes County, went to Wilkesboro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so my dad was a huge race fan. So when he moved to Detroit, we had a lot of racetracks that ran weekly up in Michigan. We had a racetrack in Mount Clemens, Michigan, Flat Rock that still operates today, Toledo, Flint, Grand Rapids had a lot of racetracks. And my dad went to a lot of those races. And after the races, they would all hang around the beer garden, they called it, and all the drivers that raced would come out. So all the big drivers in that day would come out. And so my dad got to know them. And we had a gas station and taxi cab business in Detroit. And one day, one of the local racers was going to run an ARCA race out of town, and he came by my dad's gas station on his way out of town. And Benny was there working at the gas station, and they weren't doing much, and had said, "Hey, Benny, do you want to go with us?" So this probably would have been about 1961 or 62, maybe something like that. Probably 61.
Benny a teenager at this point? I mean, like
he was born. He was probably 20.
20.
Yeah, because he was born in 41.
Okay.
So he's probably 20 or so, and so he jumped in the truck with him and went to a race. I think he said it was maybe in Ona, West Virginia, is where the ARCA race was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
we've been there.
And then they started going with them and started helping them, and there was a guy that owned that car, a guy named Dick Gold. He also we had Pure Oil station. Okay. He also had a Pure Oil station. He bought Benny a car. He said, Benny shown a desire to race a little bit, so he said, here's your race car.
What type of car?
It's a 54 Ford.
What was he going to rate? Like what
and he paid $50 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure eight. It was going to be a figure eight car.
Figure eight.
Yeah.
Very scary stuff.
And I remember now. So this would have been wintertime 62, 63. I was born in 57. So I'm 5.
The age gap.
Yeah, 16 years.
What's with that?
Well, I guess I'd have to ask my mom and dad, but Benny was the oldest.
Yeah.
Then had another brother, Steve, that unfortunately passed away. He was 12 years older than me. Then my sister Patty is 5 years older than me. And
so
then,
there's
and
a bunch
me.
of kids.
Yeah, we had 4 kids.
Big family.
And we also my parents lost a child in between Steve and Patty. So, but I'm more than likely I was an accident or a mistake or whatever, but they were stuck with me, whatever the case may be. So
okay.
But I remember Benny welding a roll cage in that car at our gas station with a torch and coat hangers, and that was before he had ever run his first race. And then he started racing locally, figure eights and stuff like that in 1963.
Yeah. Did he destroy this car in his figure eight racing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's some if you watch the original Herbie the Love Bug, Mike, there's some figure eight racing in that, and it's dramatic. Like figure eight racing today, the cars are kind of like, late model stocks modified.
Yeah, or limited,
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And they stop at the intersections and so forth and wait, and then they go, and then there's contact, but they try not to do too much damage to their cars because they're kind of expensive looking. But back then, man, it was just they were flying through those intersections just like, nobody slowed down. Nobody waited for the other cars.
Whoever had the most guts.
It was all guts.
Yeah, totally.
Like, was there ever any big collisions that you were just like, worried about Benny? And
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we know what the safety was back then in 1963. Exactly.
Yeah, you welded his cage in with coat hangers.
Yeah, and that probably wasn't much of a roll cage as it was.
Right.
But
at what point did you ever have your first idea of becoming a driver?
When I was 5.
You were 5 years old, and what happened?
Other than the fact that Benny was racing or whatever, and this probably would have. That's all I ever wanted. I wanted to be a race car driver.
Went off at 5 years old.
Yeah. The next year, he moved up. He really went from running figure eight in 1963 to running what we would like late model sportsman or whatever locally. Mm-hmm. Bought a car from actually the guy that gave him his first car. He bought the 56 Ford that they were running around town, and guys named. You may not remember, but Wayne Bennett and Homer Newell and people like that who were stars in our area growing up had driven that car. So my dad bought that car for Benny. I think he paid $1,500 for it, and he immediately started winning races.
Wow!
Immediately.
Really?
Yes. I mean, just wherever he went, he would win, and he won so much locally obviously the manufacturers were in Detroit, that he got an opportunity that year, his first year out of figure 8, to race a factory Holman Moody car at Asheville Weaverville Speedway.
What?
As an evaluation program. They were looking for another driver, so they had Benny and another driver go, and they both had Holman Moody cars in Asheville Weaverville in 1964 to run, and whoever did the best would get an opportunity with Ford.
What happened?
The other guy was Cale Yarborough.
Wow.
Yeah, who had been racing for years.
Yeah.
Cale had been racing, for years. Literally, Benny didn't start racing till he was almost 22 years old, and he'd been racing 1 year. And Cale performed better at Asheville Weaverville, and Ford people said, "Well, we like you, but go back and get some more experience,
Sure.
and then we'll talk later." So.
Were you at Rockingham when Benny won?
Oh
championship?
yeah, for
Do
sure.
you remember? So that's such an iconic moment because of the way they repaired the car, right? Do you remember details of the day?
Oh yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
vivid.
I was 16 at the time. Yeah.
Were you down in the pits?
Oh, yeah.
So when he's in the crash and they bring the car in the garage, and you're like, oh Lord, this is it. It's over, right? Is it true that they took that roll cage out of a different car that had fell out of the race?
Yes.
How
Without those people knowing it too, by the way.
Tell me about that.
Well, it ripped the door bars completely out of the car.
Yes.
I know you guys have seen the pictures. It ripped the door bars completely out of the car, ripped the rear end out of the car. So they was and Tex Powell and Richie and Les Bars. I don't if you know, though they've had such a huge history in the sport. Worked at Holman Moody and the Petties and whatever. Richie and Les were terrific. They actually had built that car originally. When I said that Tex built some of the cars that Benny raced, that car was one of them. So they had everything to do, but so what are we going to do for door bars? I mean, they didn't bring a pipe bender and couldn't bend up door bars. Well, Ralph Moody had built his company had built the engines for that car, and Ralph said, go down there and get that car and cut the door bars out of it. It was a car that they had built or had something to do with, but the owners weren't around. It was Bobby Mossgrover's car is who it was. The owners weren't around. They said, go get that car.
It's just sitting down in the garage because it's broken.
Because they fell out of the race or whatever. So they went down there, got that car, and they whacked the door bars out of it. Tex welded the door bars in, and put a new rear end housing in all the front suspension. Travis Carter was the crew chief then. Not only did you have Tex and Rich.
A lot of things about the history of the sport, but that, I think, was that a mark on Benny's character that all those people came to help?
Yes, I think so, because that's it's so different now. I mean, just like my son.
But they were fixing his car to beat Cale.
Yep.
And Junior.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. You don't want to do anything to get on Junior's bad side, right?
Exactly.
And
for 30 years.
Would they have gotten that type of, community support in such a dire moment?
Yeah, and I would guess not. And everyone loved LG DeWitt too. And it was LG started racing with John Sears, and they raced for years. And then Benny got the John left and did his own deal, and Benny got the opportunity. And the reason Benny got the opportunity to drive for LG is LG actually had hired a driver by the name of Buddy Young, and he crashed hard at Riverside at the beginning of 1970, and got hurt and couldn't drive. So James Hilton actually drove LG's car at Daytona, and Benny drove his own car at Daytona, the same car that he ran the ARCA race with. Ended up driving at Daytona and actually finished in the top 10. But while he was in Daytona, Benny was helped by Ford. That came full circle, and Benny was helped by Ford. Ford pulled out of racing while they were in Daytona and said, you can continue to run ARCA, you can keep all this stuff. If you're not going to run ARCA, you need to give all this stuff back. So Benny, on his way home from Daytona, stopped in Ellerby and talked to LG DeWitt, and LG basically hired Benny to drive the car, and that's how he ended up racing.
That's a great story.
Yeah, racing in the Cup Series.
All right.
What year did we lose Benny?
2007.
Was it well known that he had been diagnosed with cancer?
Yes.
So was it for like several years?
No, just several months. Unfortunately,
Several months.
Yeah, he was diagnosed in 2006. I don't remember what month or whatever. And he continued to do TV when he could. He obviously went through chemo and radiation, and he continued to do TV when he could, and did most of the year through that year.
It seems like there's opportunities these days more and more to think about Benny. And when I think about him, I wish I, as a race fan, would have appreciated how great he was when we got to hear him. Because now you hear the voice, and it's like, man, we've been without that voice. And wow, you know, I can sit there and go, yeah, my fandom of the sport changes without Benny's voice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's how profound it was, and it just makes me mad that I didn't really appreciate it when you had him, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is Benny's legacy? Like, especially now when people talk about Benny Parsons, and you know, got a generation of race fans that didn't get to watch him race, and maybe now we're a generation of fans that didn't even get to hear him on every Sunday afternoon. Like, what is Benny's legacy?
I think now that people nowadays just go back and look at his driving career than his broadcast career. The people that are younger now that didn't get a chance to listen to him, but he was, I think, equally as important to our sport what he did after he got done driving than what he did, and he had a great career. I mean, Daytona 500 Cup champion, won over 20 races, 2-time ARCA champion. IROC, finished second IROC series 1 year, won a race at Daytona and IROC, but I think he reached more fans, and especially with the viewership blew up when the new TV era started. Yeah. Benny was at NBC, so many more eyeballs and ears got to listen and hear Benny back when he was doing TV when the new TV situation started. So
you called him the Madden. Dale, man, but like that's that unmistakable voice. And now, man, when you get those clips or when you get those throwback moments and you hear Benny on it, it just, there was a couple races. I think he was in the booth in a couple Dale's wins, and man, now it's like as much as Dale Jr. winning the race, Benny's voice in it is as equally important to the moment, right?
Yeah, I love those clips on social media when they go back and Benny and Ned and Bob Jenkins are doing a race or whatever. It just warms my heart. Yeah,
what a crew right there.
Yeah,
what a booth, a strong booth, man.
Yeah, for sure. I admire admire you and how you complimented the Parsons legacy. I will say that we all think what we think of Benny, and there are so many routes you could have taken, being in his shadow at times. But I think the way you've complimented that legacy of his, I feel a bit of a similarity in trying to do that with the Earnhardt legacy.
Mm-hmm.
When you're sort of trying to protect something that other people have added to, right? And I think you've done an amazing job with that. And I know you got to be pretty excited with Stefan and his opportunities to race, and how he's pretty much having to go through the same exact process that you are, patchwork, grinding, hustling,
work hard at it.
Work.
Yeah.
And getting to know him, it's certainly helping him have a defined appreciation for every little opportunity he gets. How are you handling that as a father? Because not only are you wanting him to be succeeding on the racetrack, but it's your son, right? It's your blood, and that has to be quite an emotional roller coaster to ride every week.
Yeah, it is, and I'm sure it was no different from your dad too. For your dad, but people, you talk about Mike, you talk about everybody loved Benny. I mean, I don't think you could ever find anyone to say a negative thing about Benny. Now, they may say there may be people that don't like me, or maybe people that don't like you, but when people say, boy, your son, looks like he has some talent. So, well, hopefully he took after Uncle Benny, because Uncle Benny had all the talent in the family. But I just, I think Benny instilled, and gosh, my dad too, is just to work hard at it, and that's what we always did. We worked hard at it. When we had that Busch team we were talking about back in the late 90s, we worked hard at it. We worked every day, worked 7 days a week, just trying to make it go. And he wasn't old enough to see us do that back then. He wasn't even born yet till right at the end of my career. But he knows how hard I work at TV. I mean, I enjoy doing TV. I work hard, try to work hard at it. We have a great crew that we work with, just like you guys do. And so that's the only thing that I just hope he works hard at it. And if he's got the talent, which I think he does, then hopefully he'll get an opportunity. He'll have that break of a lifetime like I did.
Hey guys, I'm here to tell you 3 reasons why I love our sponsor, Tire Pros. Number 1, Tire Pros loves cars as much as I do. Number 2, they have great service. Number 3, they're committed to getting you back out on the road. Plus, they've got this really cool logo.
Dale, that's 4 reasons.
And they have over 600 locations, 24/7 roadside assistance, a great selection, and a best-in-class tire warranty. Tire Pros, love the drive.